JJ, you've had a look and you've forecast ahead to what might be of interest in the AFL season upcoming. What are your top 5 storylines?
Well, I got a heap thrown at me, and I thought, well, let's try and break it down. So here's 5. Let's start at 5, actually. Rankin and Rochelle playing together in Adelaide, in your part of the world, Kane. Now, my view is one of them has to be around the ball at all times. You can't have that much capital and cash and talent 80 metres away from the ball. So one of Rankin or Rochelle must be at every stoppage. So you don't have to play as a midfielder. You can play as a high half forward that gets up around the ball. But you've got to get these guys involved in the game. So I'm keen to see, because Adelaide they're gritty. They try very, very hard.
Yeah, they're tough.
And they have a crack, but they lack a little bit of polish. So those two guys have absolute polish.
How many games do they win? What range of games do they win?
I would say probably between 8 and 11.
Yeah.
I think they're still just outside the 8.
Agree.
The 4 will be Essendon's game style and game plan, and the buy-in on the defensive side of things, because that was the knock last year and probably for the past 5 years. So what has Brad Scott been able to implement in just one summer?
Yep.
Be keen to see what that looks like with some of their midfielders who we know can accumulate the ball but not necessarily natural defenders. 3, Brisbane's composure and calmness in chaos and chaotic situations. We've seen them lose big games when they've been able, or they've kicked inaccurately, or they've given away silly free kicks, or they've blasted away inside 50 when they've had better options. So I'm keen to see what Gunston and Dunkley, who are calm and composed guys,
can bring. Should they be
bring.
premiership favourites?
They should be very, very close to it.
Second behind your mob?
Very, very close to. They're 22 on paper. The game's not played on paper. It's played on the grass, but they look outstanding on paper. At 2, your man, the man who's inherited the 18, Jason Horne-Francis.
The Hornet.
His form and his behaviour and application in Adelaide, he thinks it was closely monitored as a kangaroo. It'll be closely monitored over in your part of the world. Yes. Everything he does, every place he goes, he will be known, and everything he does will be spoken about ad nauseum over in Adelaide. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. And look, if he is a little, not unprofessional, but if he likes to do things in a different manner, per se, but he plays good footy, then that's fine.
Okay.
A good footy covers up everything else. And number 1 for me is the big boys at the D's, Grundy and Gawn. Now
they need a nickname. This duo needs a nickname. Okay. 0433 98 11 16. If any creative types are out there, I think we need a nickname.
Couple early, Grody and Gaundy. That's from a Melbourne Demon groupie.
That happened quickly.
It did. So I'm thinking, Kane, and we can sort of thrash this out a little bit more over the coming weeks and months. So a lot of the queries on, they're both number 1 rucks. I think they're going to use them as front half, back half rucks. That's how they're going to play, not necessarily with one of them resting in the forward line. I think they'll play, because Gawn's outstanding behind the ball, helping their defence. And I think he can play that role a fair bit. And I think Grundy might be able to be the long bailout target, not necessarily mark many, if any, balls that get kicked his way, but to create a big spill and allow guys like McDonald and Brown, who don't necessarily want to do that and aren't suited to do that, to play that role. So I think that's a big watch for them, because if it works, it becomes one of the best weapons in the game. If it doesn't work, then it's a big headache.
Gaundy, Grody, Brawn, Brax are a couple of nominations.
G-Force.
The G-Force. So I'm optimistic about that. I think it just works. They've both got a massive tank as well. So I think, and the fact that Max Gaundy's such a great leader and selfless, I think they'll make that work.
You've got to think that Brodie Grundy will have a serious chip on his shoulder too.
Twin Towers, the Tap brothers. So there's your top 5 storylines. There was no mention of Ross Lyon at St Kilda. There was no mention of Alistair Clarkson in North Melbourne. There was no Luke Jackson at Fremantle. There's a couple of ones
they're in the mix, 7, 8 and 9.
To see how they go. Of course, you can have your say on that this year. Just speaking of Adelaide, a bit of talk that Rory Sloane might hand in the captaincy or have the captaincy taken off him, which I think would be a good timing for Rory to focus on his footy for the last couple of years of his career. Jordan Dawson has been floated as
Has
the next
he?
captain. I did not see this. He was promoted to the leadership group and fast-tracked about 5 months ago. So Tom Doedee and Jordan Dawson in the running to captain the Crows. That would be a shock if Jordan Dawson captained the
Well,
club.
particularly, it'd be his only second season as a Crow. I haven't missed the year, have I?
No.
Yeah, that'd be. I thought Tom Doedee would be the natural selection there. There's not really anyone else that jumps out at me. That list has changed a fair bit, but yeah, I think Doedee would be maybe co-captains would work. I'm okay with co-captains. I think it works quite well, particularly when if you are following in the footsteps of someone who's been a real driver of the group. Then to try and share that load between two, I think is a good idea.
Eric Hipwood has signed a 6-year contract extension, meaning he's tied to Brisbane for 7 years. Already had a year left. What's the benefit to Brisbane extending him now?
What's the benefit? Well, they know
who's going to steal Eric Hipwood right now.
Well, I would imagine that there were clearly clubs who were willing to offer him something in the vicinity, because you don't just. That's how the negotiations.
But he can't go now. The trade period's finished.
No, of course. But
wait till halfway through the year. He's coming off a knee.
Yes,
he hasn't set the world.
He played. His finals campaign was good.
Yep, it was a good finals campaign. I'll give him that. But he's been a frustrating, polarising player. They're handing out 7-year deals like it's just commonplace. That's because it is becoming commonplace. Well, should it be?
If everyone's doing it, then
Geelong
I guess
don't do it.
Geelong have given Jeremy Cameron's on a very, very long-term deal.
But he's also the best player in the competition.
Well, I imagine the Lions are hoping Eric Hipwood will develop and become an elite tall forward. I don't think
you like it.
No, I don't have a view on it one way or the other. I'm happy for Eric. Not that I know Eric. I don't think he's that far off the top echelon of key forwards anyway. Particularly what he showed coming off the knee, and it took him a month or so where he had done much of nothing. But when he was able to stand up during the finals, and there's absolutely no doubt in the world that they looked better, Brisbane, without one of the three talls, and he was the major beneficiary of a little more room. So Danaher pulled out of the final late. I think he was his partner was having a baby, and they lost Big O in the first final, and they had to shuffle things around, and McStay went into the ruck. And Hipwood was outstanding in both. I understand a 6 or 7 year deal for Eric Hipwood seems outrageous, but when Dan McStay, who Hipwood's a much better player than and more productive player than, goes elsewhere on a 5-year deal worth X amount.
Yeah,
clearly there are clubs.
That's the market, is it?
That's right. That's the market. The players don't set the market. The market sets the market. So
no, I don't want to be misconstrued. This isn't a criticism of Eric Hipwood. Congratulations to his management and himself. I would have done exactly the same thing. But the question I'm asking is, on the scale of 1 to Jared Pollock, how much of a disaster will this contract turn out to be for the Brisbane Lions? I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a great one. The most goals he's ever kicked in any season is 37.
No, he needs to.
It's a big commitment
for it to pay off. Now, okay, let's look at Jeremy Cameron. So Jeremy Cameron went to Geelong for 2 or 3 first round picks, a lot of money, probably around $1 million for 6 years, I think it was. So does
Jeremy Cameron kick 62 goals in his second year, JJ, in a team that won 1 game?
Yes,
I mean this is. Eric Hipwood's not carrying the bags of Jeremy Cameron.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is that we're talking about the length of term. How many premierships or Colemans does Jeremy Cameron have to win for it to be considered a success?
It's a success now.
Okay, so he doesn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, but for this to be a success, he needs to be top 2 player in a Brisbane premiership season.
But if they win a premiership next year, does it matter whether he was top 2 or top 10?
Well, but it's the 6 years after that. So they already had him this year. There was no need to extend him now because they already had him under contract. He can't go anywhere until the end of next year anyway. So they've jumped the gun too early with a player that's off the back of a knee reconstruction and has been inconsistent. As much as I like him as a player and he's got talent and speed and all of that, but he's not yet a match winner for me. Anyway, that's a topic that people get bored with. You can have your say on that, people. 1300 736 736. He said, I've been here since the dark times, so to be able to experience some good times and hopefully some better times coming, it was a pretty easy decision. Danny Daly from the Lions says Eric deserves his contract extension because he has been instrumental in helping the club get to where it is today.